for some reason she was building frozen mallets on Caitlyn with Grasp of the Undying. And I was like,
Tank Caitlyn! Tank Caitlyn!
Yeah, that's kind of weird.
So what's up, Nakib?
What?
What's up?
I'm doing quite alright. How are you guys?
Good. Yeah, I'm sweating a little bit. Maybe it's because it's hot, or it's because I am.
Nervous.
I went hard today, working out.
Oh, hell yeah.
Nice, bro.
Yeah, bro. All right, so let's start then. Let's check first. So this is episode number 24.
Is it?
Yep.
It's going fast. So it will be the 25th anniversary next week.
The 24th.
We're going to be 25 years old. Let's go. That's how weeks. That's how weeks work, right?
Yeah.
You turn
Right
25
now,
after
yeah.
25 weeks.
Yeah,
Let's
right
go.
now, yeah. Because time isn't real right now.
So,
It's
yay.
crazy. So we're gonna talk about the future of the podcast for today. I'm gonna read the quote of the day for today. Let me put it up. So the quote of today is from Zig Ziglar.
Again?
You don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great.
You don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. Last week it was use what you have and build up from that. Was that the quote last week?
I don't remember anymore. I have to check the vault.
But yeah, it's inspirational.
It's motivational, inspirational.
Right, Jake?
Yes.
Love it. So yeah, today it's the 20th of June 2020, episode 24. We're going to talk about the future of the podcast. Also, we have a new guest. Maybe we can start by introducing yourself.
What? You forgot about Jake?
Well, I'm not a new guest.
A
Second time.
recurring guest, but still a guest.
A recurring guest, true.
Yeah. What?
That
Am I
great-
first or what? I don't know.
You can continue with your introduction.
Yes.
Jake.
Nakib can
What?
introduce him if you want to as well.
Jake,
Surely the
introduce
new
yourself.
guy. Surely him first. Alright.
You can,
Well, I'm Jake, or Clarky. Last time I was here, we were talking about wrestling. But... so yeah. That's it, I guess.
Hello, Jake.
Hello.
Amazing.
Hello.
You should do the intro for all three of us as well now. It was so
Yeah.
damn amazing.
Alright, well, I can do the one for you.
Do it.
So he's Nakib. He's some fucking no-name jungler.
No name. Just a
He was
small
also on
indie.
the...
I'll do the introduction for the Weed. This is the Weed, also known as the Weeb, also known as Gay Weeb, also known as just Gay. And
Wait a moment.
he's here regularly. Last week he skipped out. He didn't say a word, so he's a kind of a dick for that. But you know, I see
I'm a
past
dick.
those things.
Now am I supposed to introduce?
He's also known as Nigurundeo. But yeah.
Nigurund. Oh wait, I have to change my name.
True. So yeah, let's
I'm
start.
hearing the popo.
Let's start with the
Yeah, our new guest, the police. Fuck them. Alright,
fucking
next.
bleed. Let's start with So the topic of today is going to be the future of the podcast, and by that I mean the future of the Oberon Kingdoms podcast that is every Saturday at 4:00 Paris time, Berlin time.
Absolute time.
So the question is, I mean, I'm gonna ask this to the Weep. Where do you see the podcast in a few months from now?
Few months.
I'll be back in a second. I'm gonna grab some pizza.
Wait, what?
Hell yeah.
And continue with the story.
Okay, gonna getting some pizza, sure. Where do I see? I mean, it's not gonna be too much far from what it is now, right? Hopefully more viewers, but other than that, I mean, we'll still talk about, like current events, stuff we want to talk about. Maybe have more guests, but other than that, I don't think much gonna change.
So how much viewers do you think the podcast gets?
Each week, every time we stream.
Yeah, and on the YouTubers.
No idea. I didn't look at the statistics on a long time on YouTube. My guess would be hello to the 5 people who's watching now. Hello, mom. Hello, papa.
I wish I had a dad.
Mr. and
What?
Mrs.
Are you already
Weed.
back?
Nothing. I got pizza.
It was fast.
That's also what she said.
Yep.
That's from the office. So, all right, what do you see from now to 1 year? What is the podcast? Are we? Do we have new content? Are we gonna get more viewers? Are we still online?
It's hard to say. It's hard to say. Anything can happen in a year. Maybe someone will take over, all this, we'll just throw this duty on some random people we know. Like,
Ra-
just do the job for us.
Random people. Who?
Hello.
Hello?
Hmm.
Hello.
Is Giberto still here?
Oh, guess
Yeah.
not.
Yes.
Wait, who left then?
Um,
The wheat left for some reason.
yeah, the weep. It's the weep. All right, let's go. Ask the same question for Penta King.
Okay, I can hear shit.
Hello.
Hmm.
I think you're lagging.
If you okay, if you ask me where I see the podcast in a year from now, if I compare the podcast right now compared to when we began, episode 1, it's kind of still the same, but we have become a lot more consistent compared to the first week of doing the podcast. And I think if we, since we do have like a consistency, I think it will look pretty much the same in a year from now. And maybe we'll have like multiple people. We will have maybe new topics to talk about on a regular basis. But I think it will stay pretty much the same as it is right now.
What would you say to yourself in 1 year? If you want to talk to yourself,
If I rewatch this in a year from now, like this video that's going to be on
yeah,
YouTube,
like a message for you in the future.
Not quite sure. I'm not really one to look that far up ahead in the future. For me, it's like I do something based on next week rather than next year, for example. But I think in a year from now, if I hear myself saying this right now, I would say that I hope you're still happy. You're still happy with everything you do, and I hope you're still enjoying everything that you do. I think that's about everything that I would say to myself in a year from now.
All right, cool.
Don't be forced into doing things you don't want to do. That's the only message I want to say.
Like ganking.
Exactly. Don't give in to the peer pressure. Don't gank your laners. Fuck the top laner especially. Red the
Fuck
wheat.
you too. Fuck you.
Do you still think you're gonna be playing League of Legends in 1 year?
Yes. 100% yes. Unless the game
Yes.
doesn't exist anymore, but I really love League of Legends and I do see myself doing this as long as it exists.
Wow.
Cool, man.
I'm starting to stop to play League of Legends. Well, I don't know. I think I'm gonna retire soon from League of Legends.
Oh no.
Legends.
Will you be like Uzi?
Because I'm Asian.
Huh?
I'm comparing me to police because Asian is wrong. I feel it's racist.
You're lagging quite hard.
Am I?
Yeah.
Still?
Not anymore.
Well, the question was if you're comparing me.
If you're comparing me to, that's what I heard.
All right, so I would like to ask Clarky this, but I mean he only has been here for 2
2
weeks.
episodes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's hard to ask him. Yeah, what can I ask
Well, how
you?
do I see the podcast
Well,
doing
What
where
do
do you want it to be? Where do you want it to
So,
be? What do you want from
first of all,
such a
let's start with
podcast?
what do you think about the podcast, and then we can just go further into hey, do you think it's gonna be still the same in 1 week or in 1 month and then 1 year, and I think that's it.
Well, depends. Like, in a year, it could be like, everyone. You could have like a
First, what
proper.
do you think about the podcast, and then we talk about the years and stuff. What do you think about it? What do you
Yeah,
think about this podcast?
I think it has a good layout. Like, there's a consistent like quote of the week, and like there's a lot of variety in the topics and all that.
So, you also watch a lot of wrestling podcasts. What is it like the reason that you watch the wrestling podcasts?
Well, it's because of like their personalities. Like the Cultaholic one, that's their dynamics is so funny because they're like all Northern English, and yeah.
So
But
you
I
like
listen to it a lot.
so you like the people, and that's why you like the podcast itself.
Yeah.
And if you would compare those podcasts compared to ours, what's the difference basically?
Well, they have like whole. Well, they basically have a company behind them, so they have like better like production value. See, because they have like editors and all that, and
Superstars,
they have
comedy
a
show.
consistent theme because like they're always talking about like the same shows. Well, not every week they talk about a pay per view, but they always talk about Raw, SmackDown, AEW, and NXT. So it's like consistent that way. And then they have a few funny like ones as well. Like they have a Hall of Fame, uh, and then they read like viewer questions in the mailbag.
Yeah, so they have like different stuff going on in their podcast week to week. For us, it's like only different topics every week. What do you think would be a fun way to incorporate in this podcast as well, which kind of gives you the same feeling like watching it? Would you say, since you're like more of a guest rather than a permanent member at the moment?
I'd say if there was some sort of like Hall of Fame or something like where people would like give their suggestions and what should be added to it, and then people vote what they like the most.
A
All
Hall
right.
of Fame.
Like,
Okay.
I'm not. It's just or like even like have people like set up an email and then people write questions and we answer that. And just stuff that kind of like incorporates the audience. People like that.
Yes. What do you guys think, audience? What do you think about that? Let me check. Yeah, they didn't say anything.
You did the audience first, so you can incorporate that. Okay.
All All right, so the next question about the future of the podcast is, I mean, you have been 2 weeks on this podcast. I'll talk to Clarky. I mean, have you learned anything from those 2
Have I
weeks?
learned since last time?
Yeah.
Huh.
I mean, it's hard for you because it's only 2 weeks, but for the other people, I mean, they've been 26, maybe 24, 25 times they've been doing the podcast, so they must have learned something, or at least something that they remember. But for you, it's kind of different because you only did the WrestleMania or the wrestling stuff, the wrestling podcast.
Yeah.
Even though I don't have any knowledge about wrestling.
Oh, about wrestling specifically.
No, about the podcast.
Oh,
I mean,
just
you only
like-
did the wrestling, right?
Yeah.
So it's actually, yeah. What have you learned?
No, it's just I didn't know that it was on us like every Saturday. I just thought there's this kind of like
All right, the same
I'm
question
sure-
goes for
I'm
the week.
Are
No,
you
wait, what-
are
what
you
have you
learned?
learning, Jake?
Oh.
It sounds
What?
like your brain is like buffering.
yeah.
You like do
it's
words and then
literally,
you're like silent and then you're buffering. Then
it's literally like what's happening.
You don't have to answer. You know,
if you haven't learned anything,
it's
you
okay.
can basically just say no.
It's okay. Just say no. I haven't learned anything. I'm new. I don't know anything. So the same question goes for the weep. The weep. Are
Yeah.
you still there?
I'm here.
Yes, cool. Yo, the weep. What have you learned in the last months? Because we have been doing this quite a while now. It's been
Yeah.
actually 6 months, almost 7 months. Have you learned
7.
anything? Have you incorporated or anything from the podcast? Have you thought about it? Anything?
I mean, like the stuff we talk about, like pretty much the life lessons and stuff like that. That's like, it's what one thing you learn, how to live, how to treat yourself, stuff like that. That's one thing. But I mean, like also like talk more openly. I'd say it's like not being as shy as I started off probably. I mean, that's what I learned. If I learned more than that, I would say so.
Maybe. So okay, give me the top 3 lessons, like, or top 3 moments you had on the podcast, which dude, I remember that clearly. Dude, that was fun, or dude, that actually is true, or whatever.
Well, the first thing that stayed with me is the first podcast where instead of the weed, you heard the weeb. That's the first thing that stayed with me. Second thing, I think the one time we talked about happiness, and like, making clear like what makes you happy in life, or as and you should stick to it. That's the other thing. And a third thing, what stayed the third thing?
We talked about League of Legends. We talked about love, girls. We talked about money. We talked about accepting yourself. We talked about being diet. What?
Uh-huh. No, keep being a dickhead. That's what he said.
No, keep being a dickhead.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Weren't you here when? I didn't even hear the
I mean, you mean he's an asshole?
I mean, like, he's an asshole
Only
in a good
only
way,
to the weed.
Only to me,
It's bantering, mate. Bantering.
probably.
But you don't do you do the same though.
I do the same, but it's just back and forward, I didn't say I'm not the dickhead, I didn't say that, but
Alright, so the weep or the weep. That was the
The
first
weep.
thing. The second one was happiness.
Yeah.
Happiness is a choice. And the third one is Nakib being an asshole to you.
Yeah, yeah,
Pretty much summarizes everything.
yeah, right.
All right, cool.
Me being a happy weeb who gets bullied by Nikki. That's what I learned.
Hey, that rhymes.
That's what I am.
All right, sounds cool. So quite interesting. So at least you learned. Have you learned more about us, about the people? Because we have different guests. If
I
you,
mean, I didn't know you from the start, right? Like you were a complete stranger to me. But I mean, like, I think we got closer together. Like, we talked about stuff as well. I mean, like, that's fine. I knew him before. He's a dickhead,
Some things never change.
right?
so you haven't learned anything more than you already knew. He's
I mean, except from the topics we talked about, you know. Probably, like, not really.
yeah. We talked about the girls. Remember our exes and stuff.
Girls' exes?
Yeah, remember?
That was a long time ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, we talked about 6 month period. Uh, I mean,
What? You mean during the Valentine's Day video?
I know we talked about girls and about the experience we had, and then some things I didn't know. Dude, you told me I was like, wow, I didn't know that. I think, but it wasn't for you already knew everything. The weep.
I guess we did get to know each other better, and that we got to experience the person that he already knew I was more frequently, because it was like every week instead of
Yeah,
like once a
I
month
would
or
have
something.
to hear his voice
It
every
was
week.
like he was like forced to bear with me every single
Yeah.
week instead of every single month. I think that's the only difference through the podcast.
What do you say about the weep? True or not?
True, very true. And I wish I wouldn't have to hear his voice every week now. I
You
mean,
wish. Okay.
who would
Yeah.
want?
He doesn't mean that. We already know that.
He's being a
He just
dick.
he just he just has to pretend that he does just to keep things entertaining. But
I just have to be Tsundere here.
He's doing it for
Deep down,
content.
I actually care for Unikip, but very deep down. So deep, I don't want to go there. I would rather die.
just like with the blue buffs.
Fuck.
A
Alright.
League of Legends reference. So the same question goes for Nakib, the King of Kings, aka Pentaking. What have you, or let's start with the top 3 moments, and then we're gonna move on the what have you learned and stuff like that.
Top 3 moments from the Oberon podcast. One moment was when we were talking about like the most hype moment that we had in Oberon Kingdom was that one episode where we talked for like 70 whole minutes, and it was absolutely great. The weight wasn't there, but it was with you, Mish, and me, and we were talking about what was it again? Regrets. That topic. So that episode will basically stick with me forever because it's like we got to talk so deeply and personally about so much different stuff, and we could just talk about it for hours and hours, and it felt like an episode where I had too much to say to fit within one podcast. So that was like one of the top moments. The other moment was probably around episodes, probably the first episode. I remember like practicing so much for it, having like the excitement, having like topics, having like the complete feeling to make something great out of it. And so the first episode was also like probably one of the top moments. And the other top moment, if I would have to choose one, it would probably be. I think it was the first episode as well, but it was like we were talking, and then on the background there was like a lawnmower or something. There was like a drilling sound. I think it came from Gilberto, and then
Oh yeah, I think
I was like
building
saying,
site.
I was like narrating what he was saying, and I was like, "Let me out! Gilberto's keeping me hostage," and I just said that, and then the weed was like, oh, "I didn't know you could speak lawnmower," and I was like, and then he was like, "Where did you learn that?" And then my answer was like, "Prison." and we were like laughing our ass off, and I think that's like one of not the number one moments that I've had in the podcast because it was like genuine happiness and
Oh,
funny stuff.
so
Like
cute.
it was great that moment.
Happiness.
Said
Cool.
those are the three top moments. As for what I've learned over the past 24 weeks or 25 weeks that we've been doing this, is probably that I got to separate my time way better. Like at the beginning of 2020, I was like overhyped to do everything every single day. I was spending like 8 hours a day on doing everything that I wanted to achieve, and some things showed results, other things didn't, and I basically found a good way to uh, take away the things that didn't give any results for me, like happiness-wise, views-wise, achievements-wise, like all that kind of stuff. And other things I'm happy with, and I've been doing that more consistently every single week. So I did learn how to manage my time way better through the podcast because every single week I'm actually looking forward to doing it. It's like the one thing that I'm like whenever it's Friday, I'm like, okay, tomorrow's a podcast. Tomorrow at 4 p.m. I'm going to make sure that that time is free. It was like something for me to look forward to, and yeah, if I would just give one answer, it would be time management has improved
Maybe that's a good
over the
topic.
duration of the
Time.
podcast.
That's definitely a good topic for maybe another podcast. Maybe we can talk about time management and how to manage your time. That's a good one. So that's actually a good one when you said like every week I look forward to talking to the boys on the podcast on Saturdays. Does that resonate with you, the weep, or you don't give a fuck?
Yeah.
I don't care.
But the
I
thing
don't
is like
give a fuck.
the thing is like Nakib, every time you come to the podcast, it just sounds like yo I woke up 5 minutes before the podcast started.
Yeah, let me just go grab some pizza real quick.
Yeah, I mean like time management,
mean,
right?
I think that's probably something we can talk about as well. How we see the podcast, but I'm not sure if we want to talk about that a bit, Gilberto.
So let's finish the topic first, and then maybe if you have time, we can move into those details. So you feel the same way as Nakib, the weep, or no? Like you're looking
I look
forward.
forward to it
Yeah,
as well.
yeah.
But I mean like time management wise, it's like I don't it's just like improvise, David, improvise.
Yeah. So, what do you think about? Because in the beginning, some people didn't show up, or some people didn't come on time, so we had to just do it on like the show must go on. Let's put it like that.
Yeah.
Does it bother you when people come late, or when people don't show up, or the plans change? Let's say, are you flexible? I guess you can. Put it
I
like
mean
that.
like
Or does it
I'm
annoy you?
improvising my whole life pretty much. It's like it's whatever.
So
I'll manage,
I'm
I'll
asking that
manage.
because you talked about time management
Yeah.
to Nakib, and I don't know if that bothers you or something
No, it doesn't bother me. It's just funny to me sometimes when Nakib does it, you know.
like sarcasm. Okay, I get you. All right, cool. So, do you want to say anything about that, Clarky? I mean, you haven't. Have you? So, Clark, have you watched a video of the podcast in this 6 months or no?
I was gonna watch back my one, but I just really hate listening to my voice. That's like the only reason why I didn't watch it.
Ah, okay. I mean, yeah. In the beginning, I used to hate my voice. The same goes for the camera. I used to hate to see my face, but it changes. I think that's fair, dude. That's fair. So you haven't watched the podcast, none of the episodes before the wrestling stuff.
Nah, I should watch the ones with Mish though.
Shame.
Shame
Shame.
to the corner with you.
Up on the timeout chair, Jake. I'm gonna
On
call.
what he said.
I'm gonna call the super nanny.
Super nanny.
Uh,
Inside joke, I guess. Which I
No,
don't.
well, it's a British TV show,
The TV show.
Oh, okay.
but it
Well,
is kind of a inside joke because someone on our team has a little child, so every time he plays up, I just go, "Oh, call the super nanny," because yeah, it's literally just like the TV show is like, yeah, it's just it's basically like the Dog Whisperer. If you've watched that, it's just like someone like a parent would call in like, "Oh, my child's out of control. I need you to come help me," and then basically like, every time they just like, "No, I don't want to go to bed," so like, "All right, sit on the naughty step then," and then like that's how they discipline the child.
Yeah,
Right.
I know what you mean. Like they did an episode on South Park about the dog
Yeah.
whisperer with Cartman.
With Cartman, and then Cartman eventually was so hard to deal with for the Super Nanny. The Super Nanny was eventually into a dementia hospital, and they were like, "He is Satan! He is
Yeah.
Satan!"
Oh,
She
I
starts
remember
like eating her own shit from
Yeah.
the
What the
toilet.
fuck?
It was really disgusting. Is that when Super Nannies weren't enough, they decided to call in the Dog Whisperer because the Dog Whisperer could actually
Yeah.
manage Cartman. It was probably
And he did change him
great.
as well. It was really cool to see.
yeah.
Well, I mean, for me, I guess I'll just talk about myself, about the top 3 moments. So I remember the Valentine's, I think the Valentine's episode was really cool because we talked about girls and stuff. That was fun to talk about the experience we had with girls and stuff like that, about our exes or our our misses and our broken hearts, I guess we can call it like that. Also on the so there was a podcast where we talked about, I think it was happiness. I think it was what is happiness and stuff. What is that? That was really cool. Understanding each other and acknowledging our mistakes. I mean, that was also regrets. That was really cool. The first one, I don't know. The first one was, yeah, it was really hype. Actually, it was really hype because everything was new. Remember, everything was new. It was the first podcast of the week. It was Saturday. Everything was ready. We made preparations. We made like custom layouts for the stream. We were ready to pop off. Wait, did we even do it on this channel? I think we did it on the other channel.
We
That was
done.
crazy. Yeah, we had 7 viewers watching. That was cool. That was in the start. So what have I learned? That's a good question, mate. So preparation is key for content. Makes it easier, making a script, making a prepared layout, and preparing the stuff you want to talk about. It helps a lot. Because I know you guys. I remember when you guys told me, "Yo, dude, listen. Can you introduce us? Can you introduce for us and stuff like that? Because we don't know how to introduce ourselves. Maybe you can bring it up back. I think it's in the Discord. So maybe if you scroll up all the way back, you see a conversation about, hey, dude, can you introduce yourself? Because we don't know how, and it's kind of awkward and kind of weird and stuff. So yeah, I think
Yeah, so it was like in the first 3 episodes where we were like randomly trying to come up with something at the spot. And over the time, like we're at 25, 24 right now, we have like kind of a idea of how to do the introduction stuff.
yeah,
Jake still is.
Jake's
is like,
gonna work on it. He's gonna work on it.
Nah, I'm a natural.
He's still like working on it, or like he's a natural. I mean,
Yeah,
but
I'm
as you could hear, he was like put on the spot and was like, I guess that's all. Like, it was not gonna lie, Jake, it was really fucking awkward, but you know.
well, I assumed
That was
by
the
the new
plan
guy,
all along.
it meant to weird. So I was like, I'll wait for the new guy to introduce himself, but it's actually me. I was like, oh,
The new guy.
So yeah, I feel like we have become more comfortable with it because we've been doing it a lot more. Whereas if someone new is on it, it's like they're like a bit put on the spot,
yeah.
and they have to come up with something on the spot. So we kind of dealt with that at the beginning,
And I
where we
understand.
had like a clear thing.
Yeah, but if I say no, hey guys, can you introduce yourself? Also the same for the outro. When you like, hey, you guys want to shout yourself out? You go, "Pa, this is my name, and I do whatever the fuck I want, or whatever." So there's more confidence, I guess. Your confidence on the podcast. So if I say to you guys now, hey guys, can you introduce yourself?
You
Jake.
first. Okay, I'm Jake. Clarky.
Jake the Snake. Robert. Oh, not that Jake. I see.
I got called Jake the Snake, but yeah.
I want to hear the story about that later.
Well, no, there's like my granddad also watched wrestling with me, so he'd call me Jake the Snake.
Okay.
Um, yeah, I was
There's the buffering again.
I was also called
Oh, it's
Tasmanian Devil when I was a kid because I was the complete opposite of me right now. Fucking hyper as hell. Whatever. I don't know. I don't have like a username or anything, so I can't like.
So that was like the thing that I was describing just now. Jake feels like he's being put on the spot
Yeah.
when we ask him to introduce himself. Whereas for us, we just say we basically already said like so many different lines that it's basically just programmed into our brains right now.
So it's muscle memory, I guess. But I understand
Yeah.
Jake though. It's new. I mean, how
We were the same at the beginning though.
how is he gonna
Yeah,
know
I-
how to introduce himself if no one ever taught him, dude? If no one like how? Like he cannot be like I don't know, like the future Einstein or something. I don't know. I mean, you have to experience and learn from others as well. Also, for the outros is the same. Outro, quick pop up social medias and stuff. Bomb. So that's really cool. So we actually learned a lot in the 6 months. So the question now is where am I gonna see the podcast in 1 month? So as Nakib said already, the views aren't great right now. I'm gonna be honest. The views, if I go to the YouTube to the Oberon Kingdom channel, let me show you guys as well. So the last podcast was, oh yeah. Also, if you go to on the YouTube, so there's only the podcast is only till 21, but we're already at 24. Explain.
Yeah, the 23 should be uploaded pretty soon. 22 got deleted from Twitch, probably because of the topic that we were talking about. Because that one was about Black Lives Matter, and I think that's why Twitch decided to remove that video.
Why?
So we don't actually have episode 22 anymore because we were talking a lot about Black Lives Matter, and I think Twitch
Why
didn't
would they
like
put
it or
it
something.
down if we talk
I
about
don't
Black
know.
Lives Matter?
I'm not the Twitch
Ah,
manager.
Twitch is racist. I knew it.
But yeah, Twitch basically put down that video, so we don't have the episode where we talked about Black Lives Matter. But we have the other episode about esports, which is gonna be uploaded pretty soon, most likely. It's exporting as we speak.
Then we have 23, and then today's 24. So if you go
Yep.
on the YouTube, so we get let me see. So it's 1 view or 20 views, which is kind of weird actually, because we have done this for 6 months. So the views has to be coming and coming and coming. So maybe we can I don't know. Maybe I think in 6 months we're still gonna, or 2-3 months we're still gonna see the same thing unless we do something really crazy. In 1 year, that's also a good one for the Oberon Kingdom podcast. I'm not sure, dude. I think in 1 year, I think the Oberon Kingdom podcast will no longer be online, or at least will no longer be recorded. And the reason for that is because maybe in 1 year we have something different, something I don't know, something worth the time, different hobbies, different content. But the thing that worries me a lot is so it's also, as Nakib said, like every Saturday you come and hang around with the boys, talk about shit. You can share your stuff, you can learn new stuff and whatever. So that's also the thing that is like, that's really fun to do as well. It's like going with the boys to take a beer, if you go outside and you go, hey dude, you want to go take a beer? I know we live in different cities, different stuff. So it's for us, or for at least the people in the Oberon, it's more like, hey, this is like our getaway, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, I'm seeing the Oberon Kingdom podcast in 1 year. I think it's gonna stop, or So there's two options. Or we're gonna blow up. We're gonna fucking blow up the shit, and we're gonna destroy Seth Rogen. Seth Rogen.
Seth Rogen.
What's his name? Joe Rogan. My bad. By the way, Joe Rogan got a $100 million dollar deal with Spotify, exclusive on Spotify, which is crazy. 100 million.
Yeah,
$1 million.
You get 200 mil.
200
Be
million.
alright.
That's crazy, dude. So yeah.
I think that'd be.
So we have to beat that. I don't know how, but we have to.
Get $1 million deal. Oh well.
Well, with 200 mil. So yeah, first, and I guess more views. As once we get more views, we keep the momentum rolling. Now, any thoughts on that?
Considering that, for me, whenever I go do the podcast, it's like I want to have like a feeling where, as you said, you're hanging out with friends. That's kind of the environment that I have with this podcast. It's like just friends talking to each other about different topics, and then, share each other's thoughts with it. And that's why I'm always like a bit laid back about it. I'm not like I'm not a professional, but I am like trying to keep my own personality inside of the thing. And I feel like everyone here is like having their own personality at this point that we're like trying to display on the stream. For example, I'm not like really a dickhead or anything, but I'm like trying to
Okay,
display
dude, you don't have to say that.
it along with the weed. I'm like trying to portray that I am, and yeah, I think that's like the element of fun that is included inside of the podcast, and that's what I'm trying to keep consistent in general.
Also, I want to say something about that as well. Nakib is not like that. He's bantering. He's just let's say he's just playing around. He's not really calling the weep a gay. He's just bantering, dude.
We have nothing against gays.
Yeah, we have
Totally
nothing.
fine.
Disclaimer.
Disclaimer.
It's not like it's just making the jokes. It's jokes in expense of another, I guess. However, the week comes back.
Weed in this game.
The weeks come back with calling him an asshole. So yeah, who is an asshole then? If you're calling someone an asshole.
Whoa.
Wrecked. Yeah.
On that, also the same goes for the podcast. So the podcast is for me. So I already told you guys, but I mean for the viewers, I think I already told the viewers as well. For me, the podcast has to have a value. So if you don't have value, so just giving the people need some information or need some content in the corona epidemic, like something cool to give instead of just taking. I mean, you have to give and then take. But I just see it as cool, hang around with the boys, learn about each other, learn about something else, and giving value to the people who are watching. That's how I see the podcast since day one, and still the same. But also, we have to remember that we cannot survive on only wasting time. At some point, we have to buy a house or a car or a I don't know, like college for your kids. So we cannot be wasting a lot of time on this stuff, which is fun. I mean, what was the quote again? I forgot the fucking stupid ass quote. The time being wasted is not being wasted when not the quote of the day. The other one, when time that you wasted having fun is not time wasted.
Okay.
Remember that quote?
Yeah, I thought you meant the one.
I thought you were talking about the one we talked about today.
No, not the one today. The like I don't remember.
Yeah,
before.
no, I get it.
Yeah, you remember. You were there. Smiley face. You were there. I'm there. All right, so I think that's it for the future of the podcast. And Aki wanted to talk about quick about, was it time, your time management, your own time management? We have 50 minutes. Can you do it in 50 minutes, or do you want to have a whole episode?
No, I think a whole episode is better for time management because there's so much going on around it. What I did want to talk about though is what's the kind of environment you want to create for the podcast. For me, it was a fun environment where friends are hanging out with each other and just talking about certain topics. How do you guys want to portray this podcast?
Yeah, that's the
Just
same.
hanging.
Yeah, the same.
I think it's yeah for the future.
Shooting the shit.
The same.
Like for example, we have the podcast next week. What kind of a feeling do you want to give in going into it? What kind of a message or something do you want to leave if we go out of it at the end, basically?
If we die, your last moment. Also,
What?
for me, I already said it. It's giving value, giving information, sharing the information I have, so other people can improve or improve the information I have. And also talking with you guys, keeping each other company, healthy mind.
Yeah. So I remember that we were talking about what's it called? We were talking about like random stuff every single week, and there was not really a structure. And then at some point, you introduced the certain topics that we would talk about. I introduced the quotes that we would have every single week, and that's like the kind of structure that we created, and it's been working out better because we would have like a better way to fill up the entire hour that we're usually doing this. So that was a good improvement. David, what kind of environment did you want to create with this? Like when you contribute, what's your contribution to the podcast, basically? Personality wise, information wise, you name it.
A happy surrounding.
Or are you just here for the memes?
No, for the happy surrounding, being able to talk to people. Just a
Sounds
good
so
atmosphere.
depressing.
Fuck you, my life is depressing. I know.
All right.
I'm so sad.
So sad.
So sad.
When we talked about the doomsday, that was really fun as well.
Oh, the doomsday. No one knew what the doomsday was. Or like, how did you call it? Did you call it the doomsday?
Doomsday clock or something.
Doomsday clock, yeah. And we didn't know what it was.
We sure do now.
Yeah, we should do now.
I don't.
But at what cost?
At what cost?
And Jake is like never leaving his house. Like, what changed this year?
Ooh.
What? The Corona, what? What is that?
Corona, what now?
Haha.
Eh.
Oh, just a real quick note now that we talked about the doomsday. So, guys, do you remember the 2012? 2012 and
The Mayan calendar.
yeah, the 2012 stuff about the Mayan and the end of the world.
Yeah.
So it's been so I remember something about like it had to be like the clock, the Mayan clock was not correct. It was 8 years behind.
4 years. But yeah,
8 years
I
behind.
have 4 years. Yeah.
I call that a hoax that people just made up
So
and put
it's
around the internet.
so it's 2020 right now, 8 years later, and December might be the end. I mean, I don't think so, but if it is the end, it's gonna come in December of 2020. Do you guys
Oh,
think?
I don't believe it, but I wouldn't be surprised either.
I honestly think
I'll
that
be like, whoa, that's
could be
really
true.
weird if the world ended. We're like,
if
wow.
if the world didn't like actually have doctors and scientists and stuff, the coronavirus would have killed everyone by December by now.
Yeah.
Blame
It
the
takes a week
church.
to spread out. Everybody, if we didn't have like global interaction with each other, nobody would find out until they actually got it. And I think it would take like 9 months or something just to kill everyone off with the virus. So
Yeah.
they're not incorrect because it's like ages ago they didn't know about Wi-Fi, they didn't know about airplanes and that kind of stuff. So yeah, they also didn't know about that guy eating bat soup. So
So
I think it's
Yeah.
one big hoax,
Yeah.
honestly.
maybe. So I was thinking about maybe they didn't mean the end of the world as a civilization, maybe the end of revolution or stuff, or racism and stuff like that. Because it's not pretty crazy right now because the pandemic is going on and the fucking riots are going on and people are stealing, and then we got President Donald Trump, who's actually almost his president is almost over. So it's actually, I don't know if it is a good timing, but a lot of stuff is happening in 2020. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, like aliens being declassified and shit.
Yeah, we got the finally officially the UFOs released by the U.S. government. You can watch it online on YouTube. Officially unidentified the objects in the sky. Nobody knows what it is, but they're there for some reason. It's a cool topic actually to talk about. Area 52.
UFOs.
We can talk about Area 52 next week. Let's find out.
It's a mystery. It doesn't exist. It's a lie. I'm not forced to say this at all.
FBI, open up.
Ah, shit.
You know too much.
Here we go again.
Oh shit, here we go.
Yeah,
So yeah,
So we have 9 minutes to go. We can fill those 9 minutes by just talking shit.
I actually wanted to talk about the thing that Jake mentioned about the mailbox and the Hall of Fame stuff.
The mailbox.
What if we do that as well? Like the mailbox and the Hall of Fame. What if we do something like that where like the first expansion that we did to the podcast was that we had like a certain topic to talk about. The second extension was the quote of the day. What's going to be our third extension to the podcast that will that we will consistently do every
That's
single week?
Easy, dude. I'm gonna be honest. Faces, dude. Put our face
Faces?
while we talk.
So face cam. Oh my god.
That's the next step.
Wow.
I don't-
Episode,
That's the day I'll start wearing a mask.
you can do that. You can wear like a different mask every single week and then just do that.
I can just like make a paper mask, just like do my drawings on there and just tape it on my face.
So I think we have
I
to,
had another idea for how to fill time. Could also pick, like, since the topic is about podcasts, we could all pick a podcast that we listen to and kind of shout them out.
Free
I
advertising.
mean, the podcast that
free
Gilberto will shout out the podcast of the Real Talk Show, most likely, right?
So the Real Talk Show is the #1 podcast in Zoetermeer in the Netherlands. We talk about science, we talk about politics, and we talk about philanthropy. No, entrepreneurship. There we go.
Hell yeah.
The #1 podcast in Zoetermeer. We're the number one Real Talk Show. The Real Talk Show on YouTube.
Yeah. So the podcast I listen to almost every single time, it's a wrestling podcast about Le Champion. He's Chris Jericho. He's probably one of the most decorated superstars in the history of wrestling. He does his podcast. He's in a band named Fozzy. He makes music. He does tours. He was the first ever champion in the promotion called AEW. He does a lot of cool stuff. And the thing about his podcast is whenever there's like a huge topic revolving around a person or a team or like that kind of stuff, he always has it on his podcast. And like whenever you have like questions about someone, those questions are usually answered by the person themselves who you have the question about on his podcast. So it kind of reveals a lot of backstory, a lot of backstage stuff. And whenever there's a new episode, it's like not every week, it's not even every month. Like whenever there's like actually something to talk about, he has one of those podcasts. And it's probably one podcast that I want to listen to every single time. And yeah, it's like mainly an interview kind of based podcast with different guests every single time. And I think that's the kind of podcast that I'm listening to, like something with a lot of guests that just changes every single week, basically, or every single time.
Yeah.
Chris Jericho podcast. That's the one for me.
Talk is Jericho.
Talk is Jericho is the name of the podcast.
And my one is a really like niche pick, but it's called Badvertising. It's a podcast where they take an idea, like for example, one time they picked 3 nouns and they got reliable tennis currency. So they they come up with a pitch for an idea about tennis, and they went on a tangent and they ended up with like making a I'm buffering again. Look, they made a basically an AR like LARPing for tennis like system where you have to pay money to get this reliable tennis currency, and you upgrade your tennis racket, and like you could have like a battle axe tennis racket, 2 daggers, and
Yeah, we're watching their Twitter right now from Bad Advertising Podcast, and it shows a lot of memes and that kind of stuff. My wife is what? What did it say there? Ah,
what?
That.
he's scrolling through it. My wife. Oh, he scrolls too much. But yeah, it shows a lot of funny stuff.
Yeah.
Help me. All right, and
Yeah, there's a
I
meta
forgot the witch name
narrative.
for a second.
How could you forget my name?
What did you say, Jake?
There's like an underlying meta narrative. That's why there's the help me, because
Yeah.
All right, cool, dude. Maybe they can shout us out.
Yes.
David,
Text
what's
them.
your?
I'm on the
Is
horn.
there a podcast that you watch?
Do you say you watch a podcast?
Do you watch and listen
Do
to
you
a
watch a
podcast?
podcast?
I do.
You
I can
watch
hear with my eyes. Doofenshmir's Evil Incorporated.
If I don't like what I hear, I just close my eyelids.
Okay, yeah, no, I just listen to cooking podcasts. So
Like Gordon
spilled
Ramsay.
milk. No, does it do podcasts?
What?
Gordon Ramsay.
Beef
Jamie
salad?
Oliver.
Jamie Oliver. Well, the one I listen to is spilled milk or gastropod, and just like pretty much experimental or describing food, exotic foods. Like
That's interesting.
it's specific,
So can I ask a real question? Do you cook well?
I would say so.
What's your favorite dish to cook?
Cheese on toast.
Cornflakes with
Rice.
milk.
Rice. No. Probably
Cornflakes
like
a la milk.
from the things I do the most, probably beef stew.
All right, what
Yeah.
stew? Chicken stew, fish stew,
Beef stew.
beef. Okay.
Beef stew. Beef stew, my dude.
All right, I think that's it for today.
Oh, 1 minute to go.
So
Okay, we'll count until 60. And it's gonna keep on. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, let's do the
61.
shout outs and then it will be done.
yes. So do you want to count down the week?
No. I think we can shout out. I think that's more sensible than me counting to 60.
Count to 60.
Makes a bit more sense.
Okay, Gilberto, you can start.
All right, cool. So, guys, thank you for watching this episode 24, the future of the Oberon Kingdom. Every week at 4 o'clock, Berlin time, Paris time, and for the UK it's 3 o'clock. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can watch us Saturday every week. My name is Warnight, and I'm the host of the Oberon Kingdom podcast. Can you guys shout yourself out?
I'm Nakib, also known as Pentaking, also known as King of Kings. Thank you for watching, and you'll hear about from me next week again.
Okay, well, I'm David, the Weeb, and find me on YouTube, Oberon Kingdom. And if I say anything, controversial, it's probably sarcasm talking from me.
Also because he's retarded.
Also because I'm retarded and mentally challenged.
Haha.
And then we have the last person.
I'm Jake Clarky. I don't know where you can find me, honestly. I don't really
I
care
bet he
about
doesn't know where he is.
social media.
Mom, where am I right now?
Just shout into the abyss and
It's
you might
dark in
find me
here.
there. Um, yeah. So, check out Urban Kingdoms because they're nice guys. I don't know.
Did he just call us
Alright.
nice?